This is the gameplay and mechanics review of Lords of Hellas, a brand new one from Awaken Realms, about to hit Kickstarter. For this gameplay, we got Perseus versus Helena queued up. It's gonna be awesome. So hit that subscribe button for a chance to win my copy, the special limited prototype with the resin miniatures. Hey, this is the theMCGuiRE review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the gameplay for the brand new Lords of Hellas. Now again, this is from Awaken Realms. We have done the unboxing kind of the component. We did a component review video. Now this is going to be the gameplay video, and what we're going to do here is we're going to really focus on some of the mechanics that are in the game. This video would probably be way too long if we went ahead and tried to play out a full game or play out multiple rounds. But I will kind of show you what a round looks like with a couple different characters. That's how I have it set up today. This is a 4-player game, but I have chosen to go with Helena and Perseus here. So those are the two characters that we're going to be using. So I have his army and her army. These are hoplites and priests that make up the army that you have as a player. And you can see that this is kind of how the game board would start off. We've got our temples up here. We've got our kind of our bigger temple that's right over here. We've got Spartica here, and then we have our smaller cities that are placed, and then each one of the base of the monuments will be placed on the board. Now, if you remember from the component review, these monuments were all built. And you'll notice right over here, these are all the components and the parts of those monuments. So every monument can go up to a 5th layer. And as you play the game, there'll be a certain special action that a player will have that you'll be able to actually take one of these little monument pieces, and you will actually start to build the monument as you play the game. So that is one of the win conditions as well. We'll go over that here in a second. But it's something that's really cool about this game I like is as you play the game, you build the monuments. So that adds kind of a fun aspect to it that I really like. Again, we are giving away this prototype version of the game, so remember that. We talked a little bit about that in the component review. I will mention that again, that we are doing a giveaway for this prototype version with the special resin miniatures. You really want to get your hands on this if you can. Again, just to get into this, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel, and the day the Kickstarter ends, so the day the Kickstarter for this game ends, we will select a winner, and that winner will get this version of the game. And again, remember, the box does come with the special button here that you push, and it lights up the box, which is really awesome. I still can't believe I'm giving that away because it's just so cool, but I'm going to. So I do have my player cheat sheets here with me. One of them is going to give you the actions that you're going to be able to do on your turn right here. Those are very simple, as well as the special action that you'll be able to do. I'll explain that. On the back, there is just some artwork. And then this card here is going to explain the hunt in detail a little bit better. Now, the hunt is whenever a monster, so one of our monsters up here, are on a region of the board. So if we look at the map, you'll notice that there's little areas that are sort of cut out in color. And those colors are different. We've got some yellow here. We've got some orange over here. We've got some blue over here. Now, those smaller areas that are cut out are called regions. And, you know, the larger area is a land. So throughout the game, you will be taking control of these areas. And that will depend on the hoplites that you have there. Before we seed the board game, and what I mean by that is we will go through this event deck and we'll actually flip over these event cards and we'll be able to set up the board. One of the first things that I want to do is explain the win conditions to this game, because there are actually 4 different ways that you can win the game, which adds a lot of replayability and dynamic gameplay to this game, and I really like that. So I want to make sure that I get these right. And again, this is a prototype, and these are our prototype rules that I have here. So I'm assuming that some of these things may tweak and change as we go through the Kickstarter and productionalization of this game. But I will list off the 4 things that you can do to win. And they each have a name, which I really like. It's sort of a badge of honor, right? So, Warlord of Hellas, control of 2 lands. So you have to control 2 full lands. So again, a land is made up of an entire color, not just one little spot. One little spot is a region. The entire area is a land. So you would have to control 2 full lands. So essentially what that would be is on this map, let's say I'd have to control all this yellow part, okay, and I have to have a control marker in each one of those areas. And let's say I'd have to control all of this blue area up front. So I'd have to have a control marker in each one of those blue spots. If I was able to do that, I would fully control 2 lands, thus giving myself a win condition for the game. The other thing you can do here is Favorite of the Gods. So you can control 5 regions with temples. So that will allow you to just take control of the smaller areas, and you only need 5 of them, but all 5 of those regions that you control have to have temples. So they have to have this little symbol on the board that matches one of these little temples. Okay, so as you play the game, one of the special actions you can do is build these temples. So you'd have to have 5 of those built, and you'd have to control 5 different locations where you have those temples. If you're able to do that, you could also win the game. There's also something here called the Monster Slayer, which I think is actually pretty cool because you're able to slay 3 monsters, you can win the game as well. So you can start to see how you might have to form strategies based on how you want to win the game. And that's what's fun about this, because you may start to play this game and just sort of play out the game, and you may find yourself falling into one of these win conditions just by chance of however you play the game. Or after you've played this game a few times and you start to get more mature with the mechanics and the game flow, then you actually may want to start off and say, you know what, I'm going to try to win this game by being the Monster Slayer. So I'm going to pick Hercules, and I'm going to go for all the strength, and I'm going to build that special ability up, and then I'm going to go on hunts. That's just what I'm always going to do. I'm going to go on hunts for these monsters and try to slay monsters faster than anybody else and win the game. So you can see that there's lots of different strategies that you can deploy to be able to actually win on the game. It's not just sit down and play. The last one is King of Kings. So once one of these 3 monuments on the board, 1, 2, and 3, are fully built, the game will immediately end. And at that point, that's sort of that's kind of the clock for the overall game. The overarching game, I would say, is that monument build. So once that 5th component is on, the monument is fully built. Again, not all 3, just one of them. At that point, the player that controls the most regions with cities in them, and that's this sculpt right here, not the temples, but the cities, that player would be the winner of the game. Okay, so that's win conditions. Let's get into seeding the board, and let me show you how that works. So when you want to start the game, and this is another mechanic that gives the game replayability, great. Every single time it's going to be different. And the reason is because you're going to take your event deck that's here, and it's not a really big deck, but it does have monster cards and quests in it, as well as what they call myth cards, things that you'll read and will kind of play out over the course of the game. So you're going to take these event cards and you're going to flip over the first 8. And that's going to allow you to set up and kind of seed the board game. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My first one here is Sphynx. So this is a monster. And all I have to pay attention to on this card, because you'll see there's some things at the bottom as well. Now, if this monster was already out on the board and I flipped this, because there will be an event phase in the game where you'll flip more of these cards, then these types of things at the bottom would happen, and sometimes it says something that needs to happen. If the monster has already been killed, you would just discard the card. But since we're seeding the game, we're going to look and we're going to see what monster that is, and you'll notice there's a little tiny map up there that's colored in, and that's going to show us on this map where the monster goes. So I'll look at the map, and that's right here in Macedonia. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Sphynx here, and I'm going to put that monster right there, and that would be the first thing that I would do. I would now flip a second card. So now I've flipped 1. Here's my second. I'm going to go to 8. Okay, we got another monster. It's going to be Cerberus here. So what we're going to do then is grab that monster, which is right here, Cerberus, and Cerberus is going to go right in the middle here. He's going to go right there. All right, so that's 2. Let's go 3. All right, this one is a myth. So when you're flipping over the first 8 cards any card that's a myth is ignored for seeding the board. So we're just going to ignore that, but it does still count towards the total of what you flipped so far. So that's 3. Let's go 4. 4 is another Cerberus. Cerberus is already on the board, so that one again is just sort of ignored, but does count towards the total. So we're going to flip another. We get a myth, Amazon Invasion, but again, those are ignored. So how many do we have here so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we need to flip 3 more. Here's 6, and we got Hydra. Awesome. So another monster. We're going to grab Hydra. Hydra's pretty cool. And Hydra, it indicates, goes right up here on the board. And what we're going to do is we're going to get these monster cards out as well. But I'm going to go ahead and flip all these and get them out. Okay, we've got a quest. This one's called the Amazon Queen. So with quests, what we do is we just go ahead and put those right over on the quest areas. And there are a spot for 3 quests. Once you get 3 quests and you draw another one, it doesn't count until there's room for it to be populated on the board. And then we're going to find the token. It's actually right here on the top, Amazon Queen, and it will tell us where on the map that quest goes. And it actually goes right up here with Hydra. So there is the Amazon Queen quest that's located there as well, if somebody wants to go for that. And let's go ahead and flip another card, and we get another quest, which is kill the Stymphalian birds. So we put that there, and here we go, right on top. Excellent. And that shows us that it is right down. It is not here. It is here. It is right there. So that's where that quest is located. And let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was our 8th card. So the board is now essentially ready to play. So we've got 1, 2, 3 monsters that came out, and we got 2 quests that have been seeded. Now what we're going to do is move to the beginning of the player's turn. So what's going to happen here is each player is going to get a combat card. So here's our combat cards down here. We're going to go ahead and give one to Elena, give one to Perseus. So they each have a combat card to kind of start the game. Now what we're going to do is decide a first player. You can do this lots of different ways. In the rules, it just indicates choose someone to be the first player. You can roll a die, however you want to do that. We're just going to go ahead and say that Perseus is going to be our first player here. And how you basically do this is you choose a region on the board, any that you would like, and you place your character in that region along with 2 hoplites. Now on these regions, there are a little number that indicates how many hoplites you need to initially take control of that region. So here's another strategy. When you do your initial placement, do you go ahead and just place them in an area which already has just 2, and just you can take your 2 and put it there and immediately take control of that area? Or do you go for an area that might have 4 or 5, like the larger temple here, and go ahead and just place 2 there, obviously not gaining control of it, but allowing yourself to have 2 towards that limit of 5 at one point controlling it. But before we do that, what I want to do here is I want to read the special abilities of each one of these characters just to make sure that we are starting everything off correctly. So let's go here and read Perseus's here. So his special ability is, after using prepare special action, place Perseus in the region on the map. This is not a movement. So that's going to come into play when we get down here to our special abilities. When we do a prepare action, Perseus can basically just fly over the map and land anywhere he wants. And that's not counted as a movement. So that will be pretty powerful and come in handy probably for us. Perseus also has a starting bonus. That starting bonus is take the legendary hero token of the same color of your starting region. So wherever I want to start, I can take the legendary token. So these little legendary tokens are right here, and you acquire these over the course of the game by doing various things like completing quests in different areas, hunting and defeating monsters in certain areas. You can gain this legendary status. Now, once you get it, it can be taken away by other players, but Perseus actually gets to go ahead and claim one of these right off the bat, depending on where he wants to start on the map. So that's pretty cool. So let's see. Where do I want Perseus to start? You know, I'm going to go ahead and have Perseus start right here in this area in Macedonia, because it only has 2. It does have a city and it does have a monster, so if I wanted to perform a hunt at some point, I could do that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 of Perseus' hoplites, and I'm going to put them right there. That does immediately allow me to gain control, and I do have a control token that I have laying out here. I have some more down here. I'm going to go ahead and place that right there in that region. I now have gained control over that region because my hoplites equal the limit that's printed on the board here. I'm now going to go to Helena here, and I'm going to place her. Let's take a look at her things here. It says special ability for her. Enemy player's hoplites can't enter a region with Helena in it unless that enemy player's hero is also in that region. So that's going to protect Helena as she moves around the board with her hoplites. No other hoplites can enter those areas, which is probably going to allow her to lock down control on things fairly quickly, which is going to be good for that player. So Perseus is going to want to make sure that he's moving around and getting into those same regions as Helena to make sure that other hoplites can move into that area. So that's an interesting special ability. And then starting bonus, draw 3 neutral artifacts and start the game with 1 of them. So I have done that ahead of time. Here are the neutral artifacts. So there are artifacts that are connected to each one of the monsters, and those are printed artwork on the back that show the monsters. So I set those aside up here, and I did already choose an artifact for Helena. So she now has an artifact to start with, and I chose Helm of Hades, which gives her, use when you are defending against a monster attack card, decrease the power of this card by 3. So that's really going to help when she gets into a hunt and a battle with a monster. So she's going to want to hang on to that. And the way that these artifacts are used is they'll be used and then they won't be able to be used again until they're recharged. So she will have that artifact for her for the game. But it kind of have a one-time use until it's able to be recharged. All right, that leads me to now place her on the map with 2 hoplites. And let's see here. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and place her right here because there's a temple here and it only takes 2. And that's just where I want to put her. So I'm going to grab 2 hoplites and I'll put them in there with her. That does hit my max total there of 2. So I'm going to go ahead and take control of that land. Now, again, it's not just because it's 2. It's just happens that this region is 2 that I wanted to start in. So that's where our players are going to start. And now we're actually going to start playing the game. So each one of our special abilities, our leadership, strength, and speed are all at 1 for both players. You will gain tick points in those as you send priests to the various different monuments. So, you know, each monument's going to give you a different ability to add on your card. So let's say we went to Athena, which Athena is right here. That would give you leadership. Let's say we went to Hermes. Hermes is actually here, and that would increase our speed. And Zeus is over here, which would increase our strength. So the higher strength you have, the more combat cards you get to draw when you go into hunts and you fight monsters. The more speed you have, that's going to affect your actual hero. So how far your hero can move across the board. Not your hoplites, your hero. That's your speed. And your leadership is going to affect your hoplites. That's going to affect how many hoplites you can move when you go to move hoplites. Now, hoplite movement in this game is you can move multiple hoplites depending on your leadership, but you can only move them up to 1 region away. So you can't ever go like 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2. It's only just 1 region up, and you can only move each one time. So that leadership is going to really start to affect the game as it plays out when you want to move multiple hoplites at once, or multiple hoplites kind of different directions to get them sort of moved out. There's also another special ability called Maneuver that will allow you to grab all your hoplites and move them over to a neighboring area. And you're going to want to use that when you really want to make a big punch and attack a neighboring area to maybe take control of that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start what gameplay would look like. And I'm going to show you what kind of a round would look like, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the mechanics that you're going to see as the game plays out. Now, Helena was the last person to place her miniature on the board, and the last person to place their miniature on the board will be the first person to actually start playing the game. Helena is going to be our first player, and I'm going to grab the player card here, and we can just read this right through to see what different actions she can take, because there's 3 different actions you can take. And you can take all 3 of them. You can only do each one of them one time. And then you're able to follow up with a special action. And I'll show you what those special actions here in a second. Looking at our 3 actions, we can use an artifact if we want to. Well, the artifact doesn't benefit me at all at this point, so we're not going to do that. The first action we can do is move army. And what that means is we can move as many hoplites as the value of our leadership. Our leadership is 1, so we can only move 1 hoplite if we wanted to do that. You can choose hoplites from multiple regions, but 1 hoplite can travel only 1 region. So again, we can only move 1. So I could see, you know what, I've already gained control of this, and it's already locked down and gained control. So if I move this guy out, I don't lose control of the region. I've already gained control of this region. What I'm going to do here, let's see, is I'm going to go ahead and move this hoplite right here, because this region with this city only has 2, and if I can get 1 more there deployed and take control of it, then what I could do is control a region with a city, and that's something that I actually want to be able to do. So that was 1 action. Second action, send priests under monument. Well, I don't have any priests yet, so on the card here, there's a little priest pool. It's up to 4 priests that you can have on the board at one time in your pool or at monuments. And you will gain those priests as you build temples. And that's a special action that's on your card here. So at some point we'll want to do that so we can start getting some priests on the board, but I can't do that yet. And then I can move my hero. So move your hero as many regions as his or her speed. If you finish at region with a quest and you meet the criteria, you can immediately start to do that quest. Well, I do have speed of 1 starting off, and I do have Helena right here. I could move her here to this quest, which is kill these birds. If I go look at these bird quests here, I need 1 priest, and you can start at the top or the bottom. So I need 1 priest, or I need 2 priests and 2 temples. Well, I don't have either one of those, so there's really no reason to do that because I can't get that quest. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave her right there, because remember, her special ability is nobody can move in if she's there with her hoplites, unless the other hero is there. But there's quite a bit of distance still, so that probably doesn't really matter that much right now. But I'm going to go ahead and just leave her there. I'm now going to do a special action for her. So I'll go over here and I'll look at her special actions, and I'll read those off to you. So I can recruit 2 hoplites if I have control of a city, which I don't yet. I can recruit 4 if I've been Sparta and I have control. I don't. I can hunt, which means I can start to attack a monster. Well, I'm not in a region with a monster, so I can't do that. I can do a maneuver, which is I can move my entire army to 1 region away. Not really going to pay off for me now at this point. I can build a temple, which will get me 1 priest. I'd like to build a temple. And you can build a temple in a region that you control. Well, it happens to be that this region that I took initially here does have a temple symbol in it, and I do control. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is build a temple. There's a couple other things here I can prepare, which means I can choose any 2 from. I can heal 1 damage, and you'll take damage when you get into fights. We'll show that here. You can draw a combat card. You can recruit a hoplite in a region with your hero. I don't think I'm going to do that right now. And there's one more here. It's called Usurp, and that one will allow you to, if you have the Fame and Glory token there for a region that you control, you can put a hoplite in that region. And I also forgot here that I automatically get this Fame and Glory token for Perseus for the area that he starts and controls in. So I'm going to go ahead and give that to him there. Well, not necessarily controls, but this is the region he starts in. So he has that. You know what? I think I'm going to go for the temple. I'm going to build that. So these temples are really cool. As you build them, and not every one, so as I pick them up, there's a little spot under them, and some of them say draft blessing cards. So let's say I was to pick one up and it said draft blessing cards. And I pick this deck right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull off as many players as there are, many cards for many players plus one, and you're going to put those down. And then that player that drafted that is going to get to look at these blessings, and they're all shuffled up. And there's blessings for Zeus, Athena, Hermes, and they're all kind of shuffled up in there. And you just turn it over, and it's got some text on the back of it, and it gives you kind of a little special ability. So I'll read a couple of them. Heroic presence here. If your hero is in the same region where a battle is taking place, add +2 to your army strength. So that's when actually battles are going to take place between these hoplites. That's another form of a combat. Here's forced march. Using maneuver, you can move your army by 2 regions instead of 1. Glory of Zeus. When using an Ursa special action, you can recruit 3 hoplites instead of 1. So, you can see that there are extra little bonuses and benefits that you can get in the game. And it's cool because it only takes one person to build that temple to start one of these drafts, if it's one of the ones that allow you to draft. And, the first player would choose which one they want, and then they would pass those cards to the next player. Then the next player would get to, so if you had 4 players, you'd have 5 cards to look at. And it's kind of fun because, those get passed around, and you get to draft those blessings, so everybody sort of gets a little bonus in some way. So that's pretty cool. I do like that mechanic of the game that they added in there. So I'm going to go ahead and build a temple, and I'm going to build that right there. And by building that temple, I immediately get a priest. So a priest comes into my priest pool and is set on my card as one of my 4 priests that I'm able to have in the game. Now on the next turn, I may want to deploy that priest and put that priest on one of these monuments to get a benefit. I don't know. We'll see. So I've now used that special action. When I use a special action, I'll take one of these little tokens with the X on it, and I'll place it right over that, which means I can't do that again until those are wiped out. So that's another mechanic that I love about this game is as you play, these special abilities aren't available to you every single round. As you play out the rounds, you kind of have to think, when to use certain special abilities and when not to. And it may just play out that you only may be able to use them depending on what's going on the board, or you may have multiple options once it starts to get to that mid and end game where it's your turn. You may be able to use all 6 of them, and all 6 of them may give you a benefit in some way. But you're going to have to decide which one to use because you're going to have to X those out, and you can't use them again until someone triggers the last special action you can take. There are 6 main ones, and then there's a final one. That final one is called Build Monument. So that's when someone goes for the piece to build a piece of the monument. And when they do that, I'll read you what happens. Add next level of chosen monument. All players remove priests from all monuments. So any priests that are out there, they all get wiped and removed. They don't go back to your pool. They just go, they're off the board. They're still available in the game. They just don't go back to your pool to be used. You have to kind of build those back up again. Okay. And then you gain a priest for every temple you control. So if you're the player that does that, every temple area that you control, you get a priest back. So it's kind of a way for a player to say, hey, I'm going to wipe all your priests off the board, and mine as well. But hopefully I got enough of these temples controlled that I'm going to gain maybe 2 or 3 or even my full max of 4 right back. Now when that happens, that kind of ends the round. So let's talk about that for a second because it's a very interesting concept. When you're playing the game, you're going to do your 3 actions, you're going to do your special action, and when you're done with that, it's going to be the next player's turn. They're going to do the same thing, it's going to be the next player's turn. That's going to keep going round and round and round until a player chooses to build a monument. And you never know when that's going to happen. And that's kind of a fun part of the game is once that happens, then that ends the round. And when the round ends, then you're going to kind of wipe off of the board all those different special actions that you've used, and they'll become available to you again. So I'll read you all the things that happens at the end of a round. All players remove used action tokens. So now all of your special actions are available again. You roll the monster die for each monster. So that's kind of the next phase of the game. You're going to take this die and you're going to roll it for every single monster that's on the board, one at a time. And you're just going to kind of go through those. And, whatever player executed this is going to be the one that's going to kind of choose to do that. And these monsters are either going to be able to attack in the region that they're in. If there are hoplites or a hero in that region, that monster will be able to attack. It will also be able to move one region, and the player rolling the die will get to choose which region that monster moves to, but it is only one region, or nothing will happen. So it can either attack, move. There is a side that allows you to attack or move. It's your choice, or nothing. And then after you're done rolling for each one of the monsters, and they've attacked, and you know these monsters are going to do some serious damage to the different little hoplites that are on the board. Okay, after that's over, you're going to draw an event card. Now, the only time in the game you're going to draw these event cards are going to be after you end the round, you do the monster, and then you draw an event. The only other time that you're going to see these event cards drawn is when you complete quests. So when you kill a monster, you know, you're going to get a fame token. You know, there's a few different things that are going to happen. When you beat a quest, the quest is going to give you a fame token as well, but it's also going to allow you to draw another event card. It's the only time in the game that it's going to allow you to do an event outside of an event phase. So that's pretty cool as well. Once you complete those quests, it's a way to kind of populate back on the board something else in the environment that's going on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the monster cards up on the table, because you do want to put a monster card with their specific artifact on the table for each monster, and every one of them has a special ability. So Sphynx here, special attack. Hero receives 1 damage. If his leadership is lower than 3, immediately end the hunt. There's a region attack. Destroy 1 hoplite and destroy a temple. Wow, takes out temples. Reward head of the Sphynx. So this here is the special artifact that goes with Sphynx. Now, when you beat a monster, you will be able to choose 1 of 3 artifacts. You will take the one that they have. You will draw 2 from here. You'll look at all 3, and you'll select the one that you want. So you don't have to take the one that's specific to that monster if you don't want it. Here, Cerberus will put him out here. And then the last one here is Hydra, and we'll put that one out on the board as well. And again, as you fight these monsters, it's really cool. You'll see there's different spots on the board, and they have different little icons on them. They're really cool. So as you pick up these combat cards that you have will have, you know, bows and spears and torches and things on them as well. So when you go on hunts, that's how you do damage to these, is you got to have a card that has the symbol that matches the symbol that you need here. So that's what's fun about these hunts, is you got to have the right cards, and you don't really know what you're going to run into, because as you're fighting, you're going to be drawing combat cards as well. And the monster has their attack deck. So we'll put that right here. So we've got each one of the monsters out on the board ready to go. And what we've done here is Helen has now taken her turn. The special action is over. That's done. Now we're going to go to Perseus here, because nobody did the monument, obviously, so early in the game. We're going to go ahead and go to Perseus. So Perseus, what he's going to do is he's got control here. He is going to move his army. Now, it does take a movement to move inside of a city. So I could move my little guy inside of the city, and that becomes fortified. And what that means is now my army has an extra +1 to it. So it is fortified in there. It's got a +1. If there are other hoplites that move in and we end up doing a Hoplite Battle, which is actually very simple, and I'll just tell you how that works. Basically, if there's different colored or you know, players' hoplites in one area, you're going to add up 1 for each one of your hoplites. So you're basically trying to figure out what your army strength is. So every hoplite's going to be worth 1. If you have a hoplite that's in a city, your army is going to get, you know, 1 more point. So let's say you had 4 there, and one of them was in a city. So you'd have your 4 hoplites +1 for your city, which would be 5. And then what's going to happen is you're going to take your combat cards that you have, and you're only allowed to have 4 of these in the game at any one point in time. Now, you will gain more of them when you do a hunt, because you'll be drawing from that deck. That's okay to go over the limit of 4, but after the hunt is over, you have to discard down to 4. There's a little spot here for the discard pile, so you can discard those out. So you can only have 4 at once. So when you're doing a little battle, you're going to see, okay, how many hoplites do I have? Do I have control of a city or Sparta? Sparta will give you +2 to your army. And then you're going to lay down combat cards that are going to allow you to have additional army strength as well. And there are special type of combat cards that you'll put down, which will, and I'll show you here. I'll grab the deck and see if we can get some. So right here, so you'll see that, let's just say this combat card right here, it has a big 1 in the middle. So that's worth 1, but then it also says add your hero's leadership to your army's strength. So you'll get that ability. And it's got this little skull and crossbones, little reds, right, real small there in the corner. What that basically means is after the battle is over, you have to destroy that many hoplites. So that's also a balance, because as you play these cards, you can kind of go back and forth until someone says, okay, pass, I'm not going to play anymore. And that may be because you don't think you're going to win, or it may be because you're racking up so many of these little X's here on these cards that you'll have to kill off your hoplites when you play those cards. So, you know, be mindful of that, because regardless of winning or losing a battle, however many cards you play that have those little X's on them, little skull and crossbones, you do have to kill that many of your hoplites, even if you win the battle. And it's not both players, it's only the ones that are on your cards that you played. And then once you do win the battle, you do get an extra hoplite. That's kind of the benefit of winning. You can deploy a little extra hoplite. And then the other army has to move out to a neighboring area. Now that's a fun mechanic as well, because you have to move out to an area that is not populated by anyone else's hoplites. So it's basically got to be an open, free region that's 1 spot away. And if you aren't able to move, and this comes into play when you're doing 3 and 4 player games where there's hoplites all over the place, if you aren't able to retreat and move away from a spot that doesn't have you know, someone else's hoplites, your hoplites are just destroyed. So let's say that you had a few that were left over even after the battle and after you picked them off per the cards that you played. You may have to lose them all and they all get destroyed because you can't actually move out anywhere. So that's another mechanic that I really like, is it does make it very dangerous when you get into combat when there's 3 and 4 players. Even with 2, once it's kind of end game and you're really kind of spread out, because each player does have 15 hoplites that are going to be out on the board. So that can get dangerous as well, even in a 2-player game. But 3 and 4-player games are really intense when it comes to hoplite battles. So I've went ahead and I've moved this hoplite into the city. And now what I'm going to do is I can have the ability to move this little hoplite as well. And I am going to do that. I'm going to move him right here because I just need 1 more here and I can take control. Actually, I'm not going to do that. And the reason is, if I want to, on later turns, recruit to get more hoplites, I need to do that in a region where I have control of a city. And that will allow me to deploy 2 hoplites. So I'm actually not going to do that. I'm not going to do anything with this guy. I'm going to just leave him right there. Send priest, and I don't have any priests. I can move my hero upwards to my speed. And I think I will do that. I'm just going to move my hero right here. Now I can do a special action, so I'll look at my special actions. And do I control an area with a temple? I do not. I don't have control of this area. So I can't do that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my prepare action. And the prepare action allows you to do a few different things. One of them is recruit hoplite in region with your hero. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put that over the prepare because I've now used it. And I'm going to recruit a hoplite in a region with my hero. You will notice that I do have Perseus as well as 1 hoplite in this area, and this area does indicate it is 2 to control. But the heroes do not count towards that limit from anything that I can see in the rules. It appears that only the hoplites are the ones that have to reach that limit. So I don't technically take control of this area. That would have been nice if that was the case, because then I could control it and then I could build a temple next time. But that's not the case. So that's what's going to happen there. Special ability is used. And that would be then the end of Perseus' turn. And it would go back to Helena. Now you can see that this will just continue to go back and forth until one of these characters executed on that monument. So just for giggles, I'm going to go ahead and execute on our monument for Helena to show what is going to happen next. So Helena is going to go ahead and do her actions. So she is going to be able to move army. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and move this little guy right here, becoming fortified. And I am also going to move this guy here, gaining me the 2, which then allows me to take control of that area. So what I'm going to do then is go ahead and take control. So now I control an area that has a city. That's good for me. Send priests. I do have a priest now. So what do I want? Do I want leadership, strength, or speed? I'm going to go with strength. So I'm going to go over here to Zeus, and I'm going to put this right down there. Now, the fact that I've done that immediately gives me 1 strength, so I can increase that stat on my board here. It's only going to give me that for level 1, because it's at level 1 right now. Once it goes to level 2, it's going to give me a strength plus draw 1 combat card. And then every level after that, it's always going to give you a strength, but it just gives you 1 more combat card. So it's not going to give me anything more than just allowing me to increase that statistic, which is good because, you know what? A hunt may be coming up here. So that's good that I was able to do that. The third thing is I'm going to be able to move my hero, the amount of regions that I have speed, and I'm going to go ahead and move my hero right over here. And that's going to give me that ability where these people can't be taken out because the hero is there. Now, again, I still regain control of this area because I initially gained control even though I've moved out. But now all it will take is literally 1 of my hoplites to be able to make it over there and land in that area, and I immediately will gain control. I don't need to make that max again. So that is a rule that you need to remember. That really only comes into play for the initial control of the region, and then once you control it, and there's a control token on there, other hoplites can move in and wipe that off, even with less than what's printed, the control number that's printed on the board. So now we're going to go to special actions. Now this is going to be pretty cool because I am going to recruit, and I can recruit 2 hoplites in every city that I control on the board. Now, I only control 1 here, but I can recruit 2 hoplites. And when you recruit hoplites, those hoplites can be recruited, one of them, into the city. I already have 1 in the city, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to go ahead and recruit 2 hoplites right into this city, and now we are really locking this region down. Helena has complete control of that region right there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my little marker here, and we're going to put that right over recruit. That has now been used as well. 2 of the special abilities. And, you know, I said I was going to use that monument, and I did not. So I'm going to use it on Perseus' turn because I had too much fun deploying more hoplites. I forgot to do that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to Perseus' turn. So it continues to keep going. So I'm going to move army. Well, let's see here. Now I could recruit. Oh, I want to recruit 2. No, I got to do the monument. So I'm going to move army. I'm going to go ahead, and I've already got control here. Let's go ahead and move this army right here. Now I have 2, and I now have taken control of this second region within this land. So I only need to take control of 2 more, and I have 1 of the lands taken control of. So we'll put it there. I now can build a temple as well, because there's a temple here, and I control this area. There's so much I can do. I can deploy troops. I can build a temple. But I got to do this monument so you can see what that looks like. I want to keep playing and just deploying stuff. All right, so the next thing we're going to be able to do is send a priest. I don't have any priest. We can move the hero. I'm going to leave the hero right there just because it's where I want to have the hero. Now we're going to do the special action. For the special action for Perseus, I am going to build the monument. So we go over here to build the monument. We're going to add next level of a chosen monument. All players remove priests, and I gain priests for every temple I control. I do not control any temples. Now, this character does, but that's not the character that's executing it. I am, for this example, I don't control any temples, so I don't get any priests, but this priest just gets wiped and it goes back. It does not go back to the pool. It goes back here, and then has to be brought back out by building more temples. Now, because that priest came off, you don't reset your strength, because again, we got that +1 strength from putting that priest there. You're not going to have to grab that and pull it back. You've already got that. It's not going to take that back from you. So that's good. I like that mechanic that it doesn't constantly shift those. Those are really going to come into play once you get into combat and you take wounds. You're going to flip those over. When you flip those over, it basically just resets it to 1. Now, it will stay. Let's say you had 3. When you flip it over, it'll just be 1 until you can heal, and it'll go back to 3. So once you gain those points, they're never taken away through the course of the games. That's an important rule to understand as you play this game. Once you gain them, you got them forever. Now, they can be modified back to 1, but once you heal, you're right back up to wherever you were. So what monument do we want to build? Do we want to start to build Zeus? We want to build Athena or Hermes? Let's see. I am going to build, what do I want? If I look at my card here, do I want speed, do I want strength, or do I want leadership? Let's see. You know what, let's get Athena going. So we're going to look here for Athena's parts. They're right here, and we will grab her legs. And we will put that right there and insert that. So now we are at 2nd level of the monument. And that's going to be able to deploy priests now. When we deploy priests there, we're going to get +1 leadership. And that's what I chose here. I want to get some more leadership out on the board so I can move more of my hoplites around. But now that it's at the 2nd level, if you put a priest there, not only do you get that +1 on leadership, you also can recruit 1 hoplite in any of your regions. Okay? So any of the regions that you control, you can deploy a hoplite there. So that's pretty cool. So we now have that monument built. Now that we've built that monument, we're going to end the round. So again, when the round ends, the markers come off, so now everything is available again, and we're going to go forward with the monster phase. So we're going to roll this die. I'm going to first start here. Let's see. Let's start with Sphynx right here. Roll that. Okay, attack. So she's going to attack the hoplites that are in that region. Well, I do have a hoplite that's in that region. So let's go up here and see what her let's see. Special attack. Hero receives 1 damage of his... Okay, my hero's not there, so good thing I moved the hero out of there. Region attack. Destroy 1 hoplite and destroy a temple. Well, there is no temples there, so that's good. And this hoplite is here, so that hoplite would be destroyed. That little guy is destroyed. We will put him right over there. And now what we're going to do is that's all going to happen. They destroy the hoplite, so that's done. We're now going to move over here to Hydra, see what Hydra does. Hydra can move or attack. Well, attacking's not going to do anything. And you know what? I'm going to move Hydra right through this water. Right over here. So now Hydra's over here getting very close to this area. So maybe now and get Hydra moved in there. Or that could be a hunt. Who knows? But we're sending Hydra down over there. Now we're going to do Cerberus. Roll it here. Nothing. So nothing happens to Cerberus. He sits where he's at. Now what we're going to do is the event phase. We're going to grab 1 event card, flip it over. And it is another Monstra. It is another monster that I've pulled here. And this one is not on the board. So we're going to go ahead here and grab Chimera. Now, Chimera is going to... where is it going to spawn? It is going to spawn right down here. So, let's see. Right in the middle here is where it's going to spawn. So, Chimera is going to spawn right here with this quest. So, this is kind of a hot zone as well. So, now Chimera is on the board and spawned. And that would be the end of our event phase. At this point, now an entire round has taken course because someone executed that monument build, and now it's going to be the next player's turn. So the next player is going to start right off like they normally would for their turn, but again, having all those actions available to them. Now, the only thing that we didn't take a look at as part of our gameplay was the hunt. And I do want to show you how a hunt will play out, because it is a very unique component to this game. So as we look at this game, there's lots of things we've seen, right? There's area control, there's movement, there's balance between, you know, what special abilities you want to do on your turn. There's balance between when you want to actually end the round by building the monument, depending on what's going on the board. But not only do you have all of that going on, so you got your heroes interacting, you got your heroes moving around, going on quests, doing different things. You got general hoplite movement and area control with battle between, you know, hoplites once they get into the same zone. Again, that's a very simple, just sort of add up how many there are versus how many they are, use your cards if there's fortification to modify it. That's a pretty simple mechanic. But then there's also the hunt, which means you're going to have monster combat in this game on top of everything else that you're seeing. So when you do that, you're going to go ahead and just try to attack this monster. And again, the monster's got those various different spots. Every one of them have to be filled and hit to be able to kill this monster. And that's another fun aspect of it, is when you fight the monster, you're probably not going to be able to kill it in one go. So it's going to sit there with like maybe 3 or 4 wounds, and then someone else can go attack it. And those wounds stay there. So then it'll be easier for the next person to fight it. So that's also, when do you want to go on the hunt? Do you want to let other people sort of go on the hunt, fight, drain the monsters down a little bit, and then you go for them and try to make the kill? That's pretty cool, you know, concept as well. Because again, if you can slay 3 monsters, you can win the game by being the ultimate monster slayer. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the monster card and you're going to look at your combat cards, and you're going to see if you have one that has the symbols for the ones that are on there. And you're going to get to draw 1 combat card when you fight. So I got 2 of the spears or the pikes, and this particular monster here, the Hydra, doesn't have any spears or pikes on it. So that's no good. So I can't use either one of those cards to damage the Hydra. So what that means is this battle would immediately be over, because if you can't initially make 1 damage against the beast, the monster, the combat is immediately over. Okay, so that would just end. But let's say that I had a sword or a torch or one of the various different things here in my hand. I would be able to play that and do damage against this monster. Then what would happen is another player in the game would draw 2 cards for the monster. They would choose which one they want to attack you with. And you can see these here. They have some text on them. So it says wild attack 5. If not defended against, deal 1 damage to the hero and discard 1 random combat card. So they have some text down there of what's going to happen if you can't defend against it. And they'll have a number on it. Basically what's going to happen is they're going to throw that down. Let's say it was, I don't know. Let's say it was the 5. Well, what I would have to do is any other combat cards that are still in my hand, I'd have to match that number or greater. So let's say I still had 2 cards in my hand, and I've got a 3 and a 2. Well, that's 5. So I could throw that down, and I can use those 2 cards to defend against that 5, thus defending against that hit. Now, the balance of how many cards you throw down are how many combat cards you're going to be able to draw kind of for the next round of battle. If you only put down 1 to match it, you get to draw 2 cards. If you put down 2 cards, you only get to draw 1 card. And if you put down 3 cards to match it, you don't get to draw any. So that may be the end of the battle right there. So since I put down 2 cards to meet the 5, I would be allowed to draw 1 more combat card, and I got a bow and arrow here on this one. So I'd look at the symbols again. Well, there's no bow and arrow on this either, so I wouldn't be able to play that card, and thus the hunt would be over. So that's kind of how that hunt is going to work, and how those cards are going to go back and forth, and how that's going to work. So that's going to give you interaction not only as a player combating that monster, but you're also interacting with the other players around the board, because they're going to be the ones drawing those 2 cards and saying, all right, well, this is what you're going to have to battle against. And they could go easy on you. I'm not sure why they would ever want to, or they can go hard on you and throw down that big hard card every time to get you. So, you know, you got player interaction, you got what you have going on. I mean, you've got the area movement, you've got the heroes, you've got the hunts, there's so much going on in this board game, but yet the rules are so simple as you go through, and everything you need to do is right here on these cards and right here on this card. Very, very simple. You just got to pay attention to make sure that you're making use of your special abilities for your character. You don't forget what those are. You're utilizing those. So there are a few things going on in the game that you do sort of have to remember, you know, turn to turn. Special abilities, where all your hoplites are, what control you have, when's the best time to execute on your various different special abilities that you have based on what's going on the board. The more I play this game, the more I love this game. It absolutely is a phenomenal game. You know, in the first version video that we did, of this game, which was the component review, and I challenge you, go ahead and watch that one if you haven't, because it really gets down on the board. I didn't do that this time because that video really got down on the board and showed the miniatures and showed the components. This video was really more about the execution of the game and the mechanics and the flow of the game. I think what makes this game so special is the fact that not only does it have such unbelievable, just fantastic miniature quality and production value. I mean, it's beautiful on the table. I mean, look at this, right? And this is only 2 players. There could be 2 more players here. So there's more stuff than even what you see here that's on the table. Not only do you have the production value, the eye candy, right, that comes with this game and these unbelievable miniatures, you have also a fantastic game. I mean, the gameplay is rich. It is very, very good. I am very, very impressed with this game. I cannot wait until it goes through the Kickstarter to see what they do with this. And I will say, hint, hint, there is another spot right here that is shaped just like the rest of these monuments. So you know what? I think that's a 4th monument that's coming, that's going to hit in the Kickstarter, that's going to be in the production version of this game. Who knows? There might be more, but there is another one printed on the board right here. There is no name. There is no monument that goes with it in this prototype set. So that's just, I think, kind of a little teaser, a little hint that we're going to see more monuments come into the future. So, you know, kickstart this game. It's going to be on Kickstarter coming up late May. Early June is what they're targeting for right now. Again, you can win this prototype version of the game. You will win. It will end the last day of the Kickstarter. We will select a subscriber of the channel, and you will get this shipped to you for free. It's open to anybody in the world. Again, I can't believe I'm giving this thing away because this is such a limited special version of the game with the resin miniatures and already the base priming paint that's been put on by Awaken Realms and the colors for each of the units. This is so awesome. Thanks, guys. This is an unbelievable game. Keep them coming. Phenomenal stuff. So hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team, ring the bell. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.